Hello everyone, welcome to Delphi Dev Days of Summer, and in this session we will see why you should leave Delphi 7 once and for all. A little bit about myself, so I'm Dion Mai, Microsoft Director of Technology, and I'm also an Embarcadero MVP and a Control and Automation Engineer. In this session we will see a speed comparison between Delphi versions, the features that maybe generates that differences, and from now what. So about productivity, let me show you video that are available at YouTube. Okay, and in this short video we see a comparison between two pit stops. So in this one pit stop here that it's already at 2 times the speed, they took this amount of time in 1950s to do a pit stop, and at the end of this video we see the new version of the pit stop, 2022, where it took only 1.9 seconds to be done. Okay, so almost 72 years before, in 1950s, the whole pit stop took 88 seconds to be done, and in 2022 1.9 seconds. um, think about that, it's almost 20 times faster. And of course this 2022 pit stop is also the phase, the new world record was set, and is even more faster than 1.9 seconds. But the thing that I want to show you here is the same process. Okay, the task that they do during the pit stop was basically the same. They change the tires, they refill the gas, and at the same task took 50 times faster in the new version, right? So if you are doing pit stop like they do in the 50s, you probably never will win uh, uh, a race today. You agree, right? So if you want to win a race today, you must do your pit stop near to this mark, right? Okay, so why I do this comparison? Um, where comes the Delphi? Um, well, let's think about it first. How many years do we have between the most recent Delphi versions? How many years your current version of Delphi is compared to the new ones? How more productive the new version are compared to the old ones or the old one that you may use? So let's first draw a timeline. Okay, so if we are talking about like Delphi 7, and it's not shame to use Delphi 7, we know many companies that still using Delphi 7, but many of those we help even to leave Delphi 7. But Delphi 7 is from 2002, so 22 years ago. 22 years ago. Delphi 5, 1990, and 25 years ago. Delphi 3, 27 years ago. And Delphi XE, this sometimes surprise many people. Delphi XE is from 30 years ago. And even the XE8 or Seattle, they are from 9 years ago. Okay, in our daily basis, in your daily work, maybe is that difference don't make large sound in our head, but think about it. When we are talking about technology, and think about 9 years, indifference between two technologies, what do you think about it? What can happen? You see in that pit stop that in 72 years we have a process 50 times faster. And so if you apply that to software development, what do you think today the versions help you develop more faster or more slow? Yes, nah, you get the point. But even so, let's see uh, some amazing technologies from 9 years ago. Just 9 years ago, we have Windows 7. We all love Windows 7, of course, but I think that a, a little short from you still using Delphi Windows 7, and I love Windows 7 when what was the time, but now they seem so obsolete. Windows 7 does not support 62 64 bits, and the limit of RAM was 4 gigabytes. Do you remember that? Yes. And usually at 9 years ago, people use hard drives. Hard drives. I still can hear the eagle ringing. And was the year of the Intel Core i3. Okay. And also we have iPhone 6, the new iPhone 6, 9 years ago, that comes with 1 gigabyte of memory RAM. But today the iPhone comes with at least 8 gigabytes of memory RAM. So do this comparison. 9 years ago, you will be able to use some of these technologies in your daily life. I think Windows 7 maybe, but um, many things will not work like Chrome and other softwares that we may use. 4 gigabytes of RAM is it's so sad. We can even imagine using that today. iPhone 6 will not comment as well because it's a very old version, does not receive update. But there is many companies that use Delphi from 9 years ago. Okay, and again, it's not a problem to use an old version like that. But again, consider that you are comparing 9 years ago, 9 years old technology, right? So a lot of things change. You must think about these changes, and you must understand uh, what it costs to not using the most current version. And even this being a session from Embarcadero, I'm from Microsoft and not from Embarcadero, and I'm not trying to sell you any new license because what we see in many of our customers that they have the most recent version of Delphi. They already bought it. They just simply don't use it, right? Maybe your company is in that spot as well. So maybe you already even bought the new version. You just simply don't migrate, don't choose to use the new one. Don't took the time that takes to use the new version. And because of that I'm doing this session because I see here in Brazil and other countries that we have many customers. We see that many customers struggle and migrate to the new versions, and does not compare that they change other things relate to technology, but they do not change the Delphi version. So they may complain that Delphi version is not very good. The development is not fast enough or does not have support to any or other new feature, but using a version from like 9 years ago or even Delphi 7 from 22 years ago. And 22 years ago, what we have back then, I will not go in there, right? 22 years ago, I will not go in there. But think about it. If you are using Delphi 7, analogous technology will be Windows 2000. You know, Windows 2000 and 2024 is like I don't know what compare it, right? So Delphi 7 is a very good software. We can see because it's still in use today from many companies. But think about it, people. It's a 22 years ago tool, and we don't use nothing from technology. Even Notepad from Windows is not the same from 22 years ago, and we must choose that carefully. Okay, we must consider that carefully. Not only because of the time that lapsed, the less of features the Delphi 7 has, but mostly because of the productivity. Okay, so let's compare the productivity. I have here two record videos that I made. Okay, let me put this on play, and I will put this on play as well, and I will shortly explain to you. So for this comparison here, what I did, I specify a simple form, okay, a simple CRUD form, and I generate the same form for Delphi 7 and Delphi 11. Okay, the mission was that build the same form in these two technologies, right? So I record all the process you can see here, and I have a YouTube link at the end of the session that can go to the YouTube link and watch there if you need. Okay, so uh, the main objective was the two screens must look all the same at the end of the process, and I took the time. Oh, in this first recorded, okay, the Delphi 7 took me 5 minutes, and Delphi 11 took me 4 minutes to complete. And at the first impression, maybe this sounds so little difference, right? And I will not go all the way, just go a little advance here to you see, and I will generate the form at the same rates. Of course, in the new version of Delphi, I use KickEdit. I use all the visual things that help us to elaborate and do more fast things about the interface. And at the end of the new version, the result was this, and at the end of Delphi 7 version, the result was this one here. So it almost the same screen. Of course, the Delphi 11 has all the rounded interfaces and all the new components that Delphi 7 does not have. But at the end, the screens are very similar. Very similar. Okay, but as a simple result, the new version of Delphi was only 25% faster than the Delphi 7. And this data shocked me because, okay, because this hides the real differences. And I did this session only because of this small difference here. Because many of my customers that do not still not leave Delphi 7 argue with me that they don't see any concrete advantage in doing this migration. So they put on Excel sheet and say that if I consider the time to do the migration, uh, the project will not pay itself, right? And mostly because they only see this 25% here, right? If you really build interface in Delphi 7 and Delphi 11 or 12, you will see that even with the many new tools in the IDE of Delphi, In that particular time, Delphi will be only 25% faster. But what many people do not consider is that all? And of course not. Why not? Because Delphi 7, like for this sample here, Delphi 7 does not support uh, JPG, not support PNG. So for every image that I use in Delphi 7, I must convert it from the base of images that I have already in a PGN. I have to convert it in BMP. Okay, so all the images that I use in the application must be previously converted to BPM. Only that process took me 1 minute and 28 seconds. And other things that Delphi 7 took me was to put the images inside the component. I have to record other video because it was too slow to put during the create process of the screen. So I the first time I did not put the images at Delphi 7, and after finishing the screen, I go there and select all the images to put in the screen. And only the process to select and add all the images in Delphi 7 took me also other 2 minutes. So if you sum the first minute that the Delphi 7 took in the screen and other these 3 minutes only for images, we already have the double time spending on Delphi 7. And this kind of things, people, uh, happens a lot, right? So many projects does not consider all the extra time that the old versions or even Delphi 7 took to elaborate something. They only consider the time that they are productivity. And of course, sometimes to write a class will be not more many more much more faster in the new version than the old one, because you are not comparing all the way. If you compare that for the Delphi 7 consume a JSON, you must search online for a external component, install your Delphi, and then use that. If you took that time, every time that you must do something different, you will see that Delphi 7 is cost you a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay? So think about it. Uh, If we sum up, the extra time is the double that the Delphi 11. And again, for a IT project, and we work with many of projects and many other technologies as well, we know that the most expensive thing in IT project usually are the developer. So thinking that when you choose not leave Delphi 7, you are always expending at least 2 times the cost of your projects besides to use the new versions of Delphi. Have you put that on your Excel sheet? Consider that maybe your developers will take even less than the half of the time that they took to build that project in Delphi 7 if they are using the new versions of Delphi. Very seriously. And again, you see, are all the steps that I go through here are recorded. You can do these test as well, but consider that when you are choosing not to leave the old versions. And remember, it's not only for images. All the things that Delphi 7 does not have natively will impact you very, very strong, and will cost you a lot of time, and a lot of time of many of your developers, because all of them must do the steps, and all of them must always repeat these steps again and again and again, because of the Delphi 7 does not have the right support to the new features. And why this is important? We are still talking only about the interface of the form, alright? My comparison, the double time for Delphi 7 is only in the visual aspect of the form. And its common took of the table the large amount of time that Delphi 7 cost. We must consider that because our projects can be even more cheap if we are using the new versions of Delphi. And other way to look at it's more expensive to use Delphi than the new version of Delphi. It's more expensive to use the old version. You think about it. You think about it. When you choose to use the old version, you are choosing to pay more in developer time. And that's a very strong decision to make. What's to consider? This is not a scientific paper, right? I only did the test inside my environment. Of course, some forms are even impossible to build in Delphi 7, so you will not be able to do all these steps because many components, visual components, Delphi 7 does not have, and you will have to look out of Delphi uh, to get that components right. We don't run this test in multiple developer or forms, so I only did myself this test. But you get the idea, right? You can do also your own test if you want to make sure about this difference. But you can watch all the way for the video. You will see that it's a very simple thing to do, a very simple way to test. But again, the most important thing that we want to bring you is to consider all the time, the extra time that Delphi 7 cost you, that the old versions cost you because they does not have support to a lot of new things. And I will go with you from some of these new features that we have. Uh, and when you choose to use our version, you are automatically giving away all these new features that the new version has. And of course, we do not use any inheritable or form or visual framework that maybe will change the time that I took to build this simple CRUD. Of course, it will change if I inheritable a form, but also even if I have a visual framework that allows me create even more faster the CRUDs, even so, I still will need a component to access a API, a component to parse JSON, a component to represent a generic class. Many of these features that Delphi 7 simply does not have. Okay, and let's go for it. What tools we use from Delphi? Uh, in this case, I used 11, can be 12, can be all the new versions. Of course, they all are. They have even new features that are not listed here. But uh, let's go for Delphi 11. We use search component palette, a simple search command that is very productive, help a lot to find more faster the component that we want to put on the screen. We search control dot that search from entirely IDE. In the new versions of Delphi is very fast and very simple to use. We use a lot KickEdit. KickEdit is an amazing new feature from Delphi, and I use it a lot every day. Kick data source to make more simple to link the components to the data source. We use bind visually to use some components that are not from DB sources. And we use also the add component and add control shortcuts in the right button click from the IDE. And we also use the search and filter from Object Inspector, other feature that the old versions of Delphi does not has, and improve a lot the productivity. And again, remember that for create a new form, many of the the shortcuts that we use from Delphi 7 was the same that from Delphi 11, but when the formula already exists and you must maybe do other kind of interaction with the form, these tools will be even more productive than the old versions of Delphi or Delphi 7, right? And how about the codes? It also has changed, and some of the features that we use and use a lot to improve our productivity are sync edit, right? So sync edit, we can edit a block of source code and change all the occurrences of that variable at once. And you can use refactories to rename methods, variables that as we choose to do. We can use code completion because it's very improved in the new versions of Delphi. Try to use a field by name in Delphi 7. I still use it. I know that in many cases field by name does not complete. Hints. Hints are very helpful to know what are the parameters from the function call or a method call that you want to pass and you do not remember, and they work very well in the new versions of Delphi. Navigators are very improved, and even Delphi 7 does not have all the directions from navigators, like the control up and control down to go through the class and the class methods. Structural highlighting is amazing feature from the new versions, and code folding when you has a large method or a very large class, you can fold it to be more easy to go all the way up and down from the source code. And a lot of language features. These language features you will be not able to do at any cost in Delphi 7 because it will require you to change the compiler. Of course, many of the the this, the shortcuts you can use external tools to emulate, but even so, they are very slow in Delphi 7 and usually does not follow the Embarcadero standard from all the shortcuts and so on. But these features here, you only can use in the new versions of Delphi. You cannot use like generics in the old versions. And generics is amazing feature. Save a lot of time, a lot of coding time. Anonymous methods we use every day. What is life without anonymous thread nowadays? I think there is no life without it. And new compiler directives we have inline variables. Inline variables are another amazing tool. Once you start to use it, you simply cannot stop. Class optimizers, we have new features from records that does not exist in the previous versions. We have class resources like var, methods, properties, a lot of things for class. And again, once you start using this, you uh, cannot see the word in same colors without it. And we have also classes for the base types, so you can use int to str from integer variable and to string method. You do not need to call the int to str method by himself. And no, it was not ended yet. We have native JSON serialization, new RTTI, we have attributes, we have namespaces. Namespaces, man, namespaces make me cry when I learned about it because it was so more simple to organize our source code in large programs, in large projects. We can now uh, put namespaces and classificate every source code according to its own business rule or format or uh, anything that we prefer to classificate it. We have new native classes. I will talk more about this later. And we have full Unicode inside of Delphi, so we do not have to be concerning about using other kind of languages, other kind of characters, and does not having support to it. And wait, there is even more. We have new shortcuts, IDs more fast and stable, commands for Internet Explorer and version controls. We have configurations for many project options that before we have to put hard coded on our project file. Now we have a configuration inside of the project file. We have the colors from IDE. We have the zoom inside of the IDE to choose our font size, and we have also simplified IDE extensions generated, so it's more simple for us to implement our own extensions for the IDE. A lot of native classes that we don't need new source code from GitHub or even a third-party component, even paid sometimes, that you have to use in old versions. And the new version, this all are all native. Okay, so zip, hash, encode, JSON, HTTPS communication, cloud communication, files, dates, threads, tasks. All these are native class, native wrappers from Delphi that we save a lot of time, right? And even a lot of money if you consider that maybe you are paying for some of these features, for some of these classes that now are included in Delphi versions. I think you get the point, right? He's already dead, and seriously, um, in so many aspects, the new Delphi is so ahead of the old versions that it's almost unfair to compare them, right? So, if of course, if you do not use these resources that I told you here, maybe today you not miss them, but once you start to use them, you will see that is amazing. There are new amazing features, and you will be not able to going back and use the old versions of Delphi. And if you are like me and love old versions of Delphi, I started to working in Delphi 7. Delphi 7 has a special place in my heart, but be sure they must exist only in the place where they belong, in the past, in our memory, in our thoughts, not in not in our working machine, in not environment, not in our working projects, right? So consider that. Consider leaving these old versions in the past and use the new versions, and don't go for that. Delphi is dying. The old versions, of course, are dying, but the new versions has so many features, has so uh, up to date in the matter of technology that is it's simply amazing to use. Okay, but why now? Why in 2024 you spend time to talk about Delphi 7, Dion? You have nothing better to say? Well, what started me from do this session is, of course, seeing many companies still using Delphi 7, and in many cases does not knowing why not to leave it behind, and we have to prove them that they must leave the old version. And as the to quote Bob Dylan, the times they are changing, right? So the times are changing for us now, and the most impactful thing that made me do this session is this. I wrote a prompt with exactly the same instructions that generates that screen that I made in Delphi 11. And in ChatGPT, it took only 43 seconds to elaborate the same screen, almost the same screen. Okay, uh, so of course the time of generating the prompt are not here, but once the prompt is finished, is simply to elaborate it more. But I want to think with you. LLMs will keep impacting development even more, right? So there is no going back. There is no other way to say that. Uh, it's like I think it's like the Google. Okay, I do not know to code without Google today. If I have a problem, I search at Google, and LLMs will be the same. Uh, in the future, maybe we will not know to code without an LLM, right? So they are here to stay, and every day impact even more us. And ChatGPT took only 1/4 of the time to generate this similar form, but think about it, it's 4 times faster than the form that I generate in the IDE. Of course, the IDE will it's amazing tool. It cannot be replaced by ChatGPT at all, because try to change only one color in the prompt, you will see that will make you cry. And in the IDE is a 2-second operation. So I don't think that ChatGPT will replace the IDE. It's not the case, but for productivity, of course, that will impact us. And most of many LLMs, okay, does not even generate source compatible with Delphi 7, like, right? Because for they doesn't know that Delphi 7, they of course they know that Delphi 7 exists, but what I see in many projects is that when we ask for how like I do this thing in Delphi, they usually answer with the most recent version of Delphi, because it's the most samples that the LLM search on the web. And my point is, uh, Delphi 7, even for the LLMs, Delphi 7 is outdated, right? And even now, if you are at least taking 2 times more time to develop in Delphi 7 a feature that you will develop in Delphi 11, think in the future with the LLMs even more present in our development day. Have you considered that? So LLMs is, of course, is a very new thing. We are talking about like 2 or 3 years ago. They simply does not count as a development tool, but today it's different. It's like a common thing, right? And consider that if you are staying in Delphi 7, that number that I show you 2 times faster in the Delphi 11 will be even more times expensive, right? Maybe in a short future, using Delphi 7 can be 3, 4, 5 times more slow or expensive than using the new version of Delphi. Have you considered that? Maybe now is the time for the change, because in the future maybe simply will not make sense for you uh, to compete anymore, even with the other development tools or other projects, right? In conclusion, of course, we all can still develop in Delphi 7 and other old versions, but at what cost? But at what cost, people? So, really thank you for your attention. Here are my contacts and the link at YouTube that I tell you that is the full comparison video. You can go there, watch, and if you need a PDF with summarized information for this session, at Microsoft will elaborate a folder uh, uh, pointing out the most impactful points of leaving the old versions of Delphi. If you need this, you simply ask in my mail and I will send to you, okay? The full translated version to English was not finished at this session, so I will not be able to put here, but simply ask you in my mail and I will send it to you without any cost, okay? So really thank you, and I may be here to answer any Q&A. Have a nice day.
That was excellent. I like someone fighting my battles for me, and that's exactly what Dion did. He's like, "Hey, you should stop using Delphi 7." We totally agree. And the good news is Dion is live with us in the studio. Just recently, Martha's been clicking the button. There you go. I didn't dare click the button because last time Martha did it, it was like, "Woo!" Sorts of things, crazy things went on. Hello, Dion. How are you doing?
Hello, Ian. Very well, and you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's always excellent. I'm going to put your link up. Let me do that. There you go. Dion is there. If you scan the QR code, you'll go to Microsoft. He also has a GitHub repository. I'll put that QR code up in a minute. One of our many talented Brazilian developers. You guys just keep coming out of the woodwork in Brazil. It's just like, what is in the water and the food? I don't get it. There's just so many great Brazilian developers. It's incredible, you know. You get taught it at school. Did you learn Delphi at school, or did you?
I particularly not, but it's very common to cheat Delphi here in schools in Brazil.
That's amazing. I mean, that is not common over here. I mean, Microsoft have come along and went, "Hey, yeah, you use this or Python," which is ridiculous. I mean, learning Python, I understand it teaches people to develop, but it's not really a commercially viable thing in terms of creating an app that you're then going to sell, right? And that you made a very good point in the video about the modern features that got added to Rad Studio, like multi-platform, and FireMonkey and all the generics and things like that. It's really good. Let me just put your GitHub link up as well so that people can go and see you there, because I know you have some great code. I did start some questions because we did have a few people ask questions. Oh, Patrick, as ever, has put your website in the chat as well. So this person says, "Oh, darn, I missed it. I don't know whether they were talking about this session." Look, if you did miss Dion session, there'll be a replay. So, come along and do that. If you're watching on YouTube, click on that like and subscribe button down there. Click on the little bell. And then the minute we go live or we post some replays, you'll get notified about it. So it's definitely worth doing. So the question that came up, and I don't know whether you feel the same way. And this is from Patrick, who is an MVP as well. He said that inline bars and he considers them to be like the with statement, with such and such, or a go-to. Now, I have to say, when they first came out, I felt the same way. I'm like, what inline vars? Why would we do that? It's kind of non-Pascal, right? How do you feel about inline vars now? You like them, or did it take a long time to get used to? Or?
I love because it's very simple to copy and paste a slice of code. We know that we must not copy a lot of code inside of our applications. It's not a good practice,
Yeah.
but in day to day it happens a lot, and environments help us. And even in other session, we will talk about this, Ian, because in live vars help us to not use a variable before it's been instantiated. If
So
you have
before
a very
it's not
large
yet. Yeah.
if you have a very large method and you declare all the variables in the statement before, maybe that variable that you want to use is not viable at the moment, and you will have a crash, an access violation. And with inline varns, that is hardly happen because you always are using the variable inside the block that you stated.
That's a very interesting point. I mean, I have to say, I know lots of people like Delphi 7, and the reason is the IDE, they got it right. It was a really stable IDE. It crashed sometimes, but it took a long while before it crashed. It wasn't like bang in Australia, and lots of people stuck with it because it was good at what it did. But you made the case very well, as you said. Stop it! It's dead already. It's like, but that was true. You made the point that actually there's many reasons to say I love Delphi 7. I don't hate it. It's a good thing. There was someone suggested that Embarcadero should release it for free because it's not commercially viable. I can tell you that's probably not going to happen for Delphi 7 because then like some other people go, oh, okay, we'll use it when it's no. Go and get the CE edition and use that instead. That's the way. But
And Ian, it's amazing that many companies has the new versions. It's not a financial thing, At
right,
least at here in Brazil and many other customers that we have around the world, they have the new version that they simply does not migrate. And when we ask, why do you still using the old version? Oh, we didn't have time to migrate it.
uh,
And so I have to do this presentation, go to the board and show how much money they are spent at nothing because they already bought the new version. And
very good.
I assure you that many people are watching this still using Delphi 7. It's very sad.
Yeah, well, we did a survey and we found that half of people were not using any version control at all. They were copying things around with zip files, and I'm like, oh god, really, 50% of people. I think it's got less now. The last time we did a survey, I think they've reduced, but even so, it's still a big number of people. Like, are you crazy? I live in tornado zone, tornado alley, and it's common in spring and in fall or autumn to get tornadoes and then come close. I am confident because of using Git and GitHub that if my house was wiped out, the only thing that I would be left with is my code because I use Git. So it's like I'd need a new computer, a new house, a new stuff like that. Maybe new dogs and cars and who knows, limbs maybe, but at least my code would still be around. So that's a good thing. Yeah, it's weird. And also, someone else said, "See, now this is worrying." Someone said, "Oh, I love Ballin." Like, no, no. Yeah, Ballin was great, but did you not listen to what Dion was saying? Move on from the past. It's crazy, crazy.
Oh, please! I know it's amazing to think about that. We can still use a 22 years tool today. It's amazing. It's something that only Borland and Embarcadero can do for you. But
Yeah,
really, it was not the point. Embarcadero did not did the meaning to you to still using 20 years after.
yeah, exactly. And Delphi 7 Personal was released for 3 years ago, says Patrick Hayes. Okay, well, yes, maybe. I mean, there are all sorts of versions around and stuff like that you can try. I mean, you made a very good case for using, modern features. Uh, I have to say, I do have one project that is still Delphi 7. Not my fault. I can't convince the person to swap. But every time I go back and use the IDE, it feels like everything's broken because all the things I want it to do, it doesn't do. And there's certain features where you go, oh, I can do this. Oh, no, it doesn't do that. And you think, really? That's a new feature. I've been using it. I'm sure I've been using that feature for years, And no, apparently it was introduced after Delphi 7. And there's Unicode and all the other things and FireDAC. And in fact, Jim's about to do a session where he's going to sell the advantages of Fire DAC because he's a Fire DAC fan. Jim has said in the chat, but I'm not going to let him come on camera to say this because he says inline VARs are amazing. I say when they were first introduced, Jim and I were still working together side by side, and I said, oh, I don't know. I felt kind of weird about it, and he's like, no, they're really great. And I'm not convinced. Actually, now I believe him. I'm a believer in these inline bars. So Jim did a good idea. Did a good case study. What was the word? He argued the case well, like a lawyer, or something. It's very good. He convinced me. All right. Well, we didn't have a lot of questions, and I think that's because you pretty much killed it. You took Delphi and you stabbed it until it died. So Delphi 7. So well done. I think you're back for some other sessions. Is that right? I think. Am I right or wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the look on your face says, no, I'm not coming back and doing any other sessions.
I will do tomorrow. I'll do a session about GNApp and Delphi.
Right. So I wasn't making it up because you look terrified. From it. Like, oh, I don't know what.
No, I simply don't understand the difficult question.
Yeah, and I noticed even in your video about Delphi 7, you managed to get in the section about Gen AI and AI, large language models, and actually make a good case for it as well, which is they tend to use more modern language, and Delphi 7 isn't around. I think it might be because of the amount of code that isn't available, for Delphi 7. I don't know. But great stuff. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Dion. And thanks for sticking around because we are running a bit late. And I'll see you tomorrow when you come back. Oh, by the way, are you going to Sao Paulo in Brazil in September or not?
I'm a little bit in south of Brazil at Porto Alegre, the city that was flooded in the start of the year.
Oh, yes, I remember. It was awful. Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah. Is here is my city. We live in the south.
No, but are you going to the Embarcadero Brazil conference?
Yes, I'm going to the Embarcadero. Yes.
I'll see you there then. There you go. Okay, that's excellent. All right, well, thanks a lot, and I'll speak to you soon.